And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Well, that was a little look into Donald Trump's dream journal.
Seriously.
Talking about Liz Cheney, the thing that struck me, first of all, when I saw that, you guys, was here's a guy whose dad set it up so that he could dodge the draft and not go to Vietnam. And he's talking like, he's Mr. Courageous, Captain Courageous, and he's running down Liz Cheney. But the bigger thing is, what the hell is he talking about? I mean, using that language, which you should know is going to be, whatever context it's used in, it is not going to be received well at this point in the campaign. I think this reflects part of what this week has been about. Trump continues to step all over his own message.
Yeah, that's all he seems to be able to do. I mean, Trump, it was revealing, like a lot of these Trump unhinged moments are, because Donald Trump is a candy-ass draft dodger who likes to talk like a tough guy thug. He's fundamentally a fraud in every
That's what I meant,
dimension.
but I didn't say it quite as directly as you.
Well,
That's what we get Murphy. That's what we have Murphy for.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. So, but and it was repulsive in the moment we have the specter of political violence everywhere, including a bullet that nicked his ear. You would think his calculus would include, boy, on the national spotlight. I want to be head of state, and you think he would have a filter, but he doesn't.
No,
He's
it's
driven totally by his greed and his id and his insecurity.
You wouldn't think he would have a filter at all, because we have watched him for the last 10 years, and we don't think he has a filter.
But
I have
the
to
ugly
say,
stuff is spraying out now. That I mean,
yes,
more than usual.
I have to say though, just to be even more direct about this, it's appalling. It's like repulsive, and it is, to Mike's point, it is him projecting his violent fantasies onto a woman he hates. And I actually, if you were thinking he was a rational candidate, he'd be like, "Hey, here's not a great idea. Let's get up in the closing days of the campaign and talk about a violent fantasy by which a woman, who I clearly have animosity for, gets shot in the face." There's no context in which that's going to be. Well, he was talking about,
right.
He's just calling her a chicken hawk or whatever.
Right.
It's obviously it's bad as in terms of the message flow, but it actually tells you everything you need to know about what Trump is. It's reflecting MRI of the soul, David. MRI of the soul.
No, look,
Yeah,
I mean,
I was about to go there too. Exactly. You
Yeah,
got it right, Axelrod. I know you
Thank you.
patented that thing, and it's on T-shirts all over the
Yes,
country.
you
But
can.
this is the moment this
we'll,
week
We'll let people know where they can get them. But yes,
Yeah.
where we're seeing what
I
Trump
mean,
really is.
so the
under
question
pressure.
is, so this week, Trump did that. His, I was in the studio when his transition director, Howard Ludnick,
Yeah, it went crazy.
gets into a debate with Caitlin Collins about vaccines and vaccine safety, as
Yeah.
he talks about the role that Robert Kennedy would play on health. And by the way, listen to this clip here from RFK himself, affirming the fact that he's going to play a big role on health.
The key that I think that President Trump has promised me is control of the public health agencies, which are HHS and its sub agencies, CDC, FDA, NIH, and a few others, and then also the USDA, which is key to making America healthy, because we've got to get off of seed oils, and we've got to get off of
Another brain worm, apparently.
Yeah. And then you had Speaker Johnson. I don't have that bite, but talking about radically changing Obamacare. I mean, I guess my point is, this is not the way Trump's campaign wants him to close. This is not the close that they want. And does it matter?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, they made the devil's deal. So, when Faust comes back and says, "Boy, I really wish the details were better," I don't have any sympathy. It's true that it's La Vida and Wiles are sitting in a bunker somewhere with a bottle of whiskey and a revolver, just, staring at, thinking of the campaign that could have been the last 2 weeks. But as you say, they're still in the hunt because the powerful force under Trump, which is throw the bums out, inflation, hurt me, is really powerful. So maybe the Trump campaign, all the technical stuff we like to obsess about and care about, isn't as important.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask two questions. Let me just suggest two things. One, unlike the Liz Cheney comment, the RFK thing, at least I understand it in a strategic sense. If you look at the numbers in
Yeah.
Michigan and Wisconsin, where Kennedy's name is still on the ballot, it looks like it's actually hurting Trump a little bit there because there are these RFK voters who, because he's named, they sued to try to get his name off the ballot. They failed.
Could be decisive.
That's a point in each one of those states. And so here he is doing this wildly, recklessly irresponsible thing and threatening us that he's going to turn over public health to a lunatic. But I understand why he's doing that. He's trying to basically say to Bobby Kennedy voters in Wisconsin and Michigan, you'll get Bobby Kennedy on the issues you want if you vote for me. And then there's the other strategic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's advanced.
I'm not
for
saying
him.
it's.
That's like,
I'm not. Well, I'm not. People are telling me. I'm sure people are telling me he's got a problem with that. So he's trying to be nice. Do you think Bobby Kennedy, RFK, is going to actually get that job? Is that promise worth the paper it's written on? If I were RFK, I wouldn't assume that I was going to be actually getting what I was promised. But the other question, and I ask you two guys this, right? In the end, I have this feeling we're going to look at this election and it's going to be the girls versus boys election. And if there's anything that gives Democrats hope right now, and should, is that, the gender gap on the early vote, which is a bad predictor, but it's huge. It's 55 to 45 across the battleground states.
Right.
And they are freaking out about not getting these guys to turn out. And a lot of this just seems to me like the Liz Cheney thing, the RFK thing, all this stuff just seems to be, he's trying to whip up what he imagines is the thing that will get dudes to go and vote for him. I'm not saying that's the correct calculus, but that seems what he's trying to do. There's leading hard into the Liz Cheney fantasy is, a Call of Duty fantasy, trying to get a bunch of 22-year-old guys to show up.
The question I have about that, John, is you pursue that strategy at what cost? And you're also, there are women, Republican women, independent women, and you can drive them the other way. And one of the things about I think that Harris's caution has plagued her in this campaign, but it's an asset in the closing days of the campaign because she's sticking to her message, and his incaution is part of his authenticity. But I think it's hurting him in this campaign because he can't stick to his message.
Look, there's a big opportunity cost to being Donald Trump in this election because he can't. If he was doing 4 years ago, you're better off, and he's campaigning with a milk carton, he'd be doing a lot better off. But you're right. The total frame now is boys versus girls. And the subtext to that, at least among kind of the elite, is, well, more girls vote than boys, so she's going to win. And that might be right. On the other hand, I would encourage people to spend a little more time on the north side of Detroit. There are some ladies in Macomb County that make Trump look like Pericles, the thoughtful statesman. So, it's blurrier than that. I do think you're right about, for once, her caution just to pound her stuff. And she's got her stuff down pretty good now. I watched a couple of her rallies in the last 72 hours. The gift she's got, that caution gives her, is even when something dumb happens, like Biden doing garbage.
Which we should talk about, but go ahead.
Yeah. But 24 hours later, Vance will come out and say, they're all trans because they want to get into Cornell. Or Trump will go do a creepy Liz Cheney 9 Barrels dream journal thing. Yeah. And they take it back to the crazy. Right. So that is a huge gift. And now they're out of time. The opportunity cost has been huge to Trump.
Totally. And Mike, let me just quickly say, having spent some time, as you guys both know, in Michigan last weekend, you look at those states, those blue wall states, which I think we probably all agree is probably the likeliest way she wins still. That this gender dynamic, some friends, people you would know, Mike, in Michigan, are like, Trump is the factor that has turned the women of Michigan and in some respects also in in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, it's radicalized women. And you look at the results of the elections in 18, 20, and 22 through Michigan, and again to a lesser extent in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, that has made that he has built an anti-Trump majority. He's radicalized women. I have guys our age saying to me, my wife and daughter don't care about politics, but Donald Trump has turned them into the most reliable voters on earth. And they
Hey,
are they're moderate. And I think that's a huge dynamic, to your point, David, about what it's costing him in this gender dynamic thing, is powerful and really powerful in those states.
Can I just to that end, let me I think this must be a digital ad. I don't think they're using it broadly, but let's look at this ad that they're running, or that they released at least, that speaks to this issue of are there hidden Harris votes among Republican women, perhaps non-college white women. So let's take a look at this.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Falls.
You see two couples walk into a voting center, and they
Very
both
white,
have
very white
asshole Trump husbands. And in a classic bit of kind of lefty overkill, hey, we're putting an American flag hat on one of the women. Get it? She must be a Republican. So anyway, the two women go in the booth after the jerk husbands say, all right, little lady, you know what to do, burp. And then they lock eyes over it, and they all, of course, vote for Harris. I think that psychology is out there happening on its own. I think the ad is a little bit clumsy.
I'm not asking about the ad. I'm asking about the phenomenon.
Yes.
Do you think it's real?
It's there.
I think it's real. And I think and you've seen it in the messaging, the Michelle Obama speech that I saw in Kalamazoo, which encapsulated the two key, I would strike me as two of the key dynamics here, which is that phenomenon, not just the hidden vote phenomenon, but the, pushing up the numbers with white suburban, basically independent, Republican leaning women and white college educated men, where she seems to be overperforming, who are, the Michelle message, which was driven almost totally on women's health at male voters, but male college educated voters. And again, if she wins the election in those states, that's going to be the thing that's going to have brought her.
I mean, the only question I had about that was, can you shame those guys into?
Well, I don't think it's shaming. As Murphy's pointed out a lot of times, there are a lot of college educated white men who see the self-interest in being in
No,
I
understand.
rights.
But in any case, because there was a huge outpouring of early vote among Republican women in the suburbs of Atlanta, for example.
Yep.
We're assuming that they're voting for Trump because they're Republicans, but is that the case? I think that's one of the great mysteries
I think it'll
of this campaign.
We're going to know with all the the exits, and it's kind of the new exits, because it's based so much on polling people who just voted by mail, are going to be interesting. But I think it'll be, it is a sideshow to the larger boy versus girl election thing, which I think is a little too easy and a little too neat. But I think you will find college-educated white Republican women are going to overwhelmingly vote for Trump, but not at historical norms.
Right. And that's
for
the key.
them.
And in a marginal race, that could be very very important.
You will look at places like Kent County in Michigan, where Kazoo, the college town,
Kalamazoo.
We Michiganders call it Kazoo because it's hard to spell.
Wait, it looks like L.A. there, and it doesn't look like Michigan. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm in. But believe me, my Michigan blood courses through my veins. Why do I have evpolitics.org over my shoulder trying to help save the American?
I thought that was bourbon, but anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, well, that too. I call that hacks fluid. It helps bring the thoughts forward. At the edges, that's going to make a difference in some of these key places. I think if you kind of follow where there's a big chunk of those kind of voters, it's kind of a crescent from Scottsdale, where you often work undercover among
Yes.
the R's,
Yes.
up through Nevada, and then right across the industrial Midwest. It's going to be a factor in Wisconsin, the
Okay.
Philly suburbs. It's that vote is in all the places we care about.
In a minute,
and
go ahead, John. I'm
just
sorry.
one last quick thing, which is to say, that brings us back to the Liz Cheney thing we started the show with, which is that's what the Liz Cheney strategy obviously has been all about. But I'll say also, Harris is going to church tomorrow morning in Sunday morning in Detroit, and then going out to East Lansing, just to stick with Michigan for a second. And the other factor here is she's in Detroit, she's doing all these big cities to try to make sure the black vote turns out, and the numbers in Detroit right now, there's been this indicator. Democrats basically win that state when you get the turnout in Detroit over 50%. The folks in Detroit are now saying they think they could have turnout in Detroit at 53% right now. And that's another factor here that plays into this. It's this weird combo of white suburban voters, some of them Republican, with trying to get the right level of black turnout in these big cities. And if you can put that together the right way, again, it's super close.
Those are two.
But that's how you win
two
those
prongs
states.
of what we should be looking at. The third is this big mystery as to whether there is this hidden group
Trump vote
of Trump voters, like there have been in the last two elections, who are going to defy polling, come out in larger numbers. Now, this has become a huge debate in the polling world, and I think there's some merit to this. I think pollsters are tired of being called dumb shits every election cycle, so they are. It's not untoward. They are playing with their weightings to try and make sure that they get Trump voters in there
which could overestimate.
And they could overestimate them.
Sorry.
And also there's the cultural factor of all this stuff. Just to give you a bigger migraine, when you see the ads with the jerk Trump husband, kind of simplistically, and the smart wives, and why do they marry these guys? But, how's the guy flying a lathe in St. Clair County, Michigan, thinking about that? Oh, I'm a jerk because I don't really think we ought to have a left-wing president from Oakland, California, who screwed up immigration. So, every politics is like all equations. Every reaction has a counter reaction.
Right.
And, some of this stuff, because somebody was writing about the Milwaukee rally. Oh, smart political strategy. You got to turn out African-American vote in Milwaukee. So we have the all-black rally. Yeah. But then we're sending, a message that in our tribal society can activate other people to say, oh, I don't know. Is that all she's about? So, it's tricky. And the thing is, polling's over now.
By the way,
now we have to vote.
Can I just say something that this is apropos to nothing, but I mean,
that's a great lead in. Talk about a tease. Talk about an
undersell.
I'm tired of segues. Okay. I'm just going to go for it.
It's like Trump
is making 3 stops in North Carolina this weekend.
Amazing.
The Harris campaign had reduced their buy to almost nothing at the beginning of the week. They just threw $1.5 million on TV in North Carolina.
Right.
I don't know what it means, but obviously they both think that something is going on there. So I don't know.
It's a bad sign, though. I don't like campaigns where Don Knotts is at the wheel. Cut all the TV, double the TV. Yikes.
Well,
yeah. Well, maybe. I think you shift in a presidential race. You do shift things around for a final weekend. Go ahead, John.
Let me just say to the pollsters of America, if you're frustrated with being called dumb shits over and over again, you should talk to some of us, because we've got a lot of coping strategies for that we've worked out over
exactly.
the years. We've been called dumb shits when you guys were still in short pants.
We almost called this podcast "Dumb Shits on Tap."
Yeah, that didn't sound very. I thought the logo
Murphy vetoed it.
Logo would be
Murphy's
hard to
too fragile. Murphy's ego was too fragile for that, so we went with Hacks on Tap.
Right. I'm a gentle flower.
But talk about Don Knotts at the wheel, though, Mike. It's like you've got Trump, in one track is, hey, let's go to New York, New Mexico, and Virginia.
New Mexico. I know.
And New Mexico and Virginia, and like let's do a bunch of states that I don't have any chance of winning.
Well, it shows
and then on the next track, it's, hey, let's do 3 stops in North Carolina because we think our polling is weakening there. It's like,
well, that's not his decision. The charitable interpretation is that they are trying to they think they can make a play in those states. I don't think they can. I think the real explanation is largely that it's virgin territory where he can get crowds that he's not getting in the
Right,
Yeah.
because they've
battleground
seen the
states
act
anymore.
in Warren.
And he'll
Yeah.
get national media either way, and it's a nationalized campaign. So
Of course, how he
the-
gets it is not necessarily the best for
Well, there
him.
could be something else happening. I'll do the narcotics section of the pod here for our Democrat listeners who are all on the
Narcotics.
verge of a nervous breakdown over this thing. If you look at, I did a tweet about this on Friday, kind of the scorecard. If you look at vibes, it's going her way because she's having an okay week, other than the garbage thing Biden gave her, and he's not doing it. He's out. We talked about this, and I do want to play the crazy meltdown over the microphone.
We'll get
'cause
to it.
that's
We'll get to
another
it. I know.
MRI of the soul.
I know.
that could be the kicker.
Yeah, I owe you
that could be the kicker of
$5.
the show.
So the vibes are going her way, I think. And if he does have a ceiling, he's sure bolting it down this week by reminding everybody why. So they could be saying some hippity hoppity stuff in their southern states, in Arizona, in Georgia, which is also black turnout function, and North Carolina. And they might be prying his Don Nazi orange claws off the wheel to know you don't get to indulge yourself every day and go to New Mexico and New York, where we need you in North Carolina because they're freaking out. I mean, there could be a final move happening here. And if there is one, you can argue it's to him because of her weaknesses and the big need to fire him and the inflation and all that. But it could be going to her, too.
I'll tell
So
you, just to finish this one point, the Madison Square Garden rally, which I think a lot of us, there's said, well, he just wants to play the Garden, or, who knows what.
Call it by its real name, Madison Square Garden on the Rhine.
Yes,
Yes.
that's you now get to, if you're a Hacks on Tap listener, you heard Mike Murphy make that joke in the last episode, and in this one, it's a good joke though. So we come back to it. It's a classic.
Beat it to death.
But it turned out to be 7 hour, like the Woodstock of hate.
Yes, but more importantly, if someone somewhere did this data analysis, it actually broke through in a way that very little does at this point. Like the amount of the search traffic on coming out of that thing on the comedian's name, that guy Hinchcliffe, if you call him a comedian, but the guy who made the Puerto Rico joke, just spiked like crazy. And I use that just as a, how much is Trump's craziness ever break through? A lot of times it doesn't, because everyone just sort of, oh, it's Trump, he's always fucking nuts. That thing,
Yeah, it did.
to closing badly, that rally did actually break through in the kind of national consciousness, not just cable coverage, but people going to their
echo
going to
in
their
Latino pop
Google
culture
and looking it
too.
up.
Bad Bunny,
Yes.
all that.
Well, one guy,
100%.
one guy it broke through with is the president.
Yes.
So as Kamala Harris was giving her closing argument outside the White House, he was inside the White House doing a small Zoom with
On Zoom. Yes.
with a group of Hispanic supporters, and this is part of what he said.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done.
This basically, she was outside saying, I am not going to demonize my opponents. I'm not going to treat them as enemies. I'm going to give them a seat at the table. He's doing something else. I don't know. I'm not going to, I don't know what to say about it, other than he basically, the effect of it was for the next 24 hours.
Right.
He
He
was half
pushed
the
into the
story.
race. Yeah.
And that anything where he pushes into the race is not helpful. But she did use it as an opportunity. Let's listen to this. She did to do what she's had a hard time doing, which is separate herself a little.
First of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as president of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not.
That was probably good. It was necessary. It was also
good
that
in
she
a
did
bad thing. It's the
Yeah.
right move, but Biden put it back on that. And then Trump got to almost die getting into a garbage truck, to quote Tim Walz, who got off a pretty good line and got a good soundbite of his own that might have traveled farther than hers. They've kind of hid Walz after the debate. I think that was a mistake. Let Tim be Tim. He got off, I think.
Did
the
you
best
see, by the way,
line
did
about
you watch that, them trying to stuff Trump into the garbage truck?
Yeah,
Incredible.
no,
It was like he had to get
unbelievable.
hoisted into the garbage
No.
truck. And then he
Yeah.
got in there and he looked like Ralph Cramden to me. You're the only guy, Murphy, who will understand the reference.
Yes,
But
yeah.
Ralph Cramden in The Honeymooners. So we've got some.
I know that reference too. I'm a Ralph Cramden guy.
I was,
Yeah.
okay, good. Well, I didn't give you the cultural awareness credit that I should have given you, Heilman.
The scary part was when 12 alert Secret Servicemen tried to wrestle the threatening garbage truck to the ground, but they turned off the camera too soon. But Walz had the right line. Trump looked terrible, and that
did.
bite got elevated too. But still, they would have been rather talking Trump's Bund rally for another day or two. And then thank God for J.D. Vance, who decided to weigh in with the Ivy Trans thing to push it back on Trump crazy.
Yeah,
gotta say,
I don't have that said tape from the Joe Rogan show, but J.D. Vance suggested that young men were transitioning in order to improve their chances to get into middle class white men to get into Ivy League schools.
Just for any listeners who don't know, what was the Walz line, Mike?
Well, there's this funny bit of tape of Trump trying to lurch into a garbage truck.
Yep.
And it was a fair fight between Trump and the garbage truck for about 8 seconds. And it's pretty funny. And Walz was in front of a crowd somewhere, and he said he damn near killed himself trying to get into a garbage truck. And their big laugh. And of course, that made it irresistible to play it one more time on cable. Because a lot of what we're doing now, it's basketball. Grab the ball. And Walz managed to grab it for a few hours. And that's, the Trump people are very good at getting the ball stolen from them through their own incompetence. And they did it yet again.
So,
and in the waning hours, it's gold.
Can we spend a few minutes? Looking at some ads? I got a bunch of ads that I think reflect the message that the campaigns would like
David,
to close on.
Allow me to make just one comment on the last thing that Mike said, which is, if you guys saw that video of Trump kind of getting that truck, he reached out for the handle and he couldn't quite get it. His right leg kind of buckled backwards. There's some video that people put together on the internet of various events where Trump seems to have some kind of a motor thing going on with his right leg, where he kind of drags his right leg behind him in a pretty dramatic way. I'm only raising it just because if that video had been shown of either Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, you would have had days of cable coverage about. I still am amazed at how Trump gets away with these things that are either signs of mental, emotional, or physical decline that people don't jump on. Because that video, it's not just that like he's heavy and he had a hard time getting up into the cab. He looks like he was drunk. He kind of he reached out for the handle and then kind of fell away from it. And I'm just amazed that the double standard, some of these double standard arguments I think are bullshit, but this particular one, the fact that Trump's decline is undercovered, I think is a genuine thing. Right. I'm amazed at how much he gets away with. Anyway.
All right, Dr. Heilman, let's move on to these.
Liz Cheney ought to do a thing, spryly jumping in and out of 5 garbage trucks tomorrow.
Totally.
Challenge him to a garbage truck off, or meet in Wyoming with one rifle each and lock him in a 20-acre place. And I think it'd be more than a fair fight. But let's look at ads. It's
here's
showtime.
Here's a spot that I think the campaign would like Trump to close on.
Kamala backed Biden on everything. She was the deciding vote for his disastrous economic agenda. They raised taxes on the middle class, and prices soared. Kamala was in charge of his open border policies, giving welfare to illegals while Americans struggle, and their weakness invited wars. Now Kamala wants to double down on failure. It's time to turn the page on Joe and Kamala's failed agenda. President Trump fights for you. His strength kept us safe. Trump cut taxes for families. Prices were lower and the border secure. Now, President Trump can do it again.
And we are going to launch a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
Remember, Kamala broke it. President Trump will fix it.
We'll leave the fact checking to the fact checkers.
They just had mini strokes watching it. But yes, it's exactly the argument he ought to be pounding. He'd be doing better.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you two ad makers something while we prepare? I don't know if you have another ad to play, David, but
we do. We have a few more. Yeah.
I know you guys, at people in the ad business, people who make ads for political candidates, they like to see a lot of spending at all times is good spending. But I believe I've learned over the years. I believe I've learned from both of you two over many years that like the time when paid media matters least, right, or the circumstance is in the closing days of a presidential campaign.
Yeah,
where the two well-defined candidates, like, do these matter? I guess, or is this about different?
Oh, I thought this was your way of saying you don't want to look at any more ads.
No, I want to look. I love looking at ads. I think it's fun. I just want to know if it's going to move any votes.
Well, I think the question, it's not going to move many votes. It doesn't move people who are just checking in. Does it help clarify? I mean, really, when you're in a campaign, I think Murphy would agree, it's a battle of definition, and you want to kind of you want to guide people in how they are thinking about the race, what the choice is about going into the polling place. So I think it's useful, but yes, I think which is why him not delivering the message is so damaging.
In a close race, you can't prove it doesn't do anything good, and it's all they can do. I mean, think about it. You're sitting there in Trump headquarters. You get a call from the road. Oh, President Trump just ate a bar of soap, and now the plane is heading to Salt Lake City. He wants to do a rally there. You're like, oh, I can't control the lunatic on the plane. Thank God he's not going to Philly again. I know what I can do. I can throw these ads on the air. And so you do it because it's all you got, and they're the right ads for them. I mean, I think it was a little overstuffed. I can get into critiques, but fundamentally, it's the argument. So why not? You know, you're thinking, well, if we lose by 8 votes, we have the money. It's not my money. Spend it.
Despite all appearances of the contrary, if you took a look at the posts of Hacks on Tap, we all realize that taking care of yourself as we get older is essential. We know we have to exercise. We know we have to prioritize sleep, and we know we have to eat well. You know, those are things that everyone talks about, but not as many people talk about taking care of their hair health. Now, their hair health.
That's something they won't associate with us either.
I was going to say. So,
yeah, 3 cue balls and ad copy here. This is going to be magic.
We're about to tell you about a product here that all 3 of us wish we'd gotten hip to when we still had time to solve the problem. So, you know, if this isn't something that you've thought much about, we're all going to tell you about the importance, the magnificence of Nutrafol. Hair thinning, it turns out, guys, not inevitable. It's not inevitable.
That is miracle news, and we're going to ship you a forklift pallet full there, Heilman. We're going to help you win the war and against hair loss, because Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over, get this, 1 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding, my big problem, in just 3 to 6 months with the magic, the scientific power of Nutrafol.
The physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients, Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning: stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole body health. I think I have issues on every one of those things, so this is good.
Yeah, and if you're an enemy within, don't worry, you don't need to be bald. Nutrafol is a nonpartisan hair growing brand,
and you know, there are a lot of supplements that rely solely on ingredient studies, but Nutrafol clinically tests its final formulations to ensure their efficacy in clinical studies. 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol men's hair growth supplement for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol women's hair growth supplement for 6 months also. This thing is not just bipartisan. It's for both genders.
With a Nutrafol subscription, building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription needed, automated deliveries, and get this free shipping. Keep you on track. Plus, you can save. Now, here's what being a Hackeroo gets for you. You can save up to 20%. You have access to free naturopathic doctor consults and a Headspace membership. It is all included.
And they'll never leave you stranded. Get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code HACKS.
Find out why over 4,500, that's 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code is HACKS.
That's Nutrafol.com, promo code HACKS.
So let me run a couple on the Harris side, and I think these two encompass a lot of what her closing argument is about.
Donald Trump has always wanted unchecked power.
I have the right to do whatever I want as president.
And with Project 2025, he'll get it. No guardrails. This time, he will eliminate protections for pre-existing conditions, and he'll cut Social Security and Medicare to give more tax cuts to billionaires. Donald Trump is more unhinged and unstable than ever. If we give him total power, he'll put everything at risk.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
That was not the spot, actually, that I meant to run. But since I did run it, I'll do the ones I wanted to run after this. That was a spot from the campaign. I don't like that spot.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Meh. First of all, if you're doing the risk spot, Donald Trump, day one, Obamacare, gone.
Right,
30% tariff on everything with big, strong graphics, bang. At 30% on everything you buy, clothes, baby toys, gone, gone, gone. Donald Trump, gone. Craig's in the White House, a country in chaos. Risk abroad, show Xi. Bang, bang, bang. Hit him over the head with scary shit that happens on day one. Donald Trump has an enemies list. I have a plan for the middle class. Just punchy and tight.
Well, let me run an ad that their super PAC did that I think is more akin to what I think I would be doing.
He has plans to punish his political enemies in a second term, but no plan to punish corporations who rip you off. Trump is running to get revenge for himself. Kamala is running to get results for you. Her plans: cut middle-class taxes and price gouging, protect Medicare and Social Security, and make life more affordable.
I will always put the middle class and working families first.
Trump fights for Trump. Kamala fights for you. FFPAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Boy, it's the first future forward spot I've really liked.
Yeah, no, I think
it's a lot of this stuff I haven't, but that's great.
I think that spot is a great closing spot because, again, if you think of these spots as a way to frame the final decision,
right,
and it's perfectly suited for this moment because Trump is spewing all over his political enemies right now.
Yeah.
So, Howman, you're quiet over there.
Well, no, I was just thinking about. First of all, I think that's a good spot. Second of all, I was thinking about the various future forward spots, and I think, David, at one point you sent one that we didn't play the last episode, which had like a blue collar worker who was basically talking about, who raised the Elon question and was like sort of being very kind of like,
yeah, actually, let's do it. We have it here. So
they've done some good ads at the end on some of the populist economic stuff that I think have been strong.
I'm a steel worker. I grew up right here on a little family farm. Trump was here campaigning with Elon Musk. Now there's a prime example of who he keeps close. Donald Trump cares about his billionaire friends. He's just going to turn around and give them more tax breaks. But Kamala Harris is fighting for the working class. She'll make billionaires pay their fair share. That way working people get a fair shot. Elon Musk is voting for his money, and I'm voting for mine. And I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, punchy copy line at the end.
Punchy
I don't like it as much as the other one, but it's punchy. And the guy is good, which is the key to a spot like that.
That's one thing I would say, just as a technical matter, Murphy, since we're geeking out, I don't like giving. I don't like turning. This guy's very, very good. I think the line at the end, which I'm told he ad-libbed, it was great. I don't like giving people copy and treating them like actors and making, because it sounds like copy.
Yeah, there's some chunky reading there.
Yeah,
but
I think
the
in
guy
the-
was
on the-
gold.
in
They
the
might
main-
have been able to get more out of him, but still solid. I think
I-
the other ad far superior to me.
The one
but-
thing that the future forward guys have basically been very focused on the economic issues, and I
Right.
think that has been
Yes.
helpful. That has been helpful to her. But there's one more spot I want to play, which is the one I meant to start with, which I think is also very, very important.
Even punishment for abortion, yes or no? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
And the punishment is real. Women denied care, unable to get pregnant again, traumatized, scarred for life. Young women who didn't need to die. Now 1 in 3 women live under a Trump abortion ban. And if he's elected, everyone will.
There has to be some form of punishment.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Creatively, I think less would have been a little more.
I'm not asking you to critique the spot. You're like a focus group now. I mean,
I know.
You show spots to focus groups. They say, "Oh, I think they should
No,
use different music." It's like I'm just talking
anyway.
about the message.
Okay, I think the message was one click overwrought because it's so powerful. You don't need to scream it in all caps quite as much. But an abortion spot about Trump ban and with the great bite they have of Trump punishing women, yeah, gold.
Yeah, Heilman, I think that we can sort of
I'm not
quibble
gonna-
about the execution, but I think that's a pretty powerful spot.
I think everything that I think what you've noticed, at least I have in the last week, is that is a place where a lot of powerful voices are out in the free media ecosystem, highlighting this issue. And I keep coming back to it again. I think, in the end, if Harris wins, it's going to be the combination of Trump and Dobbs and driving, through the roof female turnout. It's going to be the story of the election. If she wins, that's what she's going to win on the back of it. I think everything that amplifies that message in paid and earned media is good for them. And you see it on late night, you see it on in the podcast world, you see it in every media channel right now. A lot of very strong surrogates and a lot of very powerful women's stories, individual stories of things that have happened to women on this front. They're all, I think, helpful, and because that's the biggest overriding dynamic of the election.
Wouldn't it be ironic if Justice Alito ended up being the most valuable player for Democrats in 2024, as he was in 22?
Yes, Atlantis.
Yeah.
Or Atlantis.
So, one last thing I wanted to raise with you guys that I've been obsessing about, or at least it's something I've been obsessing about that I can talk about on a podcast. But this is what Elon Musk is doing in Pennsylvania. We didn't talk about this last time, did we?
No.
I mean, he has approached the problem of Pennsylvania like an engineer.
Yes.
And he came up with a scheme, and the scheme
This is the
pretty
$1 million
ingenious.
payola thing.
Yeah, which is, he's paying people $100 to sign a petition that says you support the free speech and the Second Amendment. So it is like a Rorschach test for Trump voters, you have to be a registered voter to get the 100. Then they can cross-match that with people who have voted and people who haven't voted, and they can identify irregular voters who may or may not come out, and they can concentrate their organizing on those people. And to juice the thing, he's giving people $47 if they refer anybody. And he is having a lottery where you can win $1 million if you. In fact, I think we ought to sign the damn petition.
I was going to say, how do I
on
sign
the
up for
lottery
this?
here?
Yeah.
But
I've seen this before.
Pretty clever.
In Eastern Europe, where an oligarch who committed suicide by shooting himself 7 times with a little help from Putin, who had escaped Russia, and wanted to kind of meddle in the elections. You could in the state-owned betting parlors there, you could bet on the election. So he took millions of dollars and manipulated the odds. So the party he wanted to win paid 8-1 if you put 20 gazookas down on it. It was kind of a clever idea. And I've done mall campaigns where, just thinking aloud, we asked the lawyers, hey, can we give everybody who lives and votes here a $500 gift certificate for the new mall? So it's kind of a pure capitalist way to do it, but it's gross,
Look,
particularly in this level of a
Yeah,
campaign.
no, I'm not judging
also-
the ethics or morality of it. I'm just this is
is
hacks
wrong.
on tap. I'm just talking about the pure
efficacy
of it, and I think it's pretty smart in a race that's very marginal.
Yeah, might do a little.
except for the fact that, and this is from from this trip to Michigan, where you talk to the people who are doing the ground game for Harris there, and they are like, the Obama ground game was state of the art in 8 and 12. And, that was, someone compared it. They said that was like a really, really great typewriter compared to this like quantum computer they built for the ground game in Michigan and in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin this time around. And Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk, who basically got outsourced the ground game in those blue wall states by Trump
to their super PACs.
Yes, those on the ground in those states. People, the Harris Field people are like, this is a joke. They may know how to build electric cars and they may know how to put a rocket in space, but they have no idea how to lead the kinds of as you guys both know, the volunteers and the field teams have to be motivated by something that is mission driven, not just money driven. And those, I think, again, in a really close race, that's where that stuff can make a difference of a point or a half a point that could push her over the line. And I think that will be a big mistake on Trump's part, on the Trump campaign's part, in deciding to outsource all that shit to super PACs.
We've talked about
there's
this.
criticism
We've talked
inside
about this before,
because some of the consultants are DeSantis people, but it's the Dems will be better at it in the places where ground game can help. I just had somebody text me from South Las Vegas, huge line, early voting, all Trump signs, can't see any Harris stuff. Ground game, what ground game? A lot people tend to organize where they're already winning really well. College tones.
But it
drives
guys.
up net. Everybody you create is who may not vote. It goes to the big score in a statewide race.
Let me say two things to what Howman said. One is, I talked to folks in Pennsylvania who think that can produce, tens of thousands of additional voters I'm talking about Democrats who've told me that they think it could produce tens of thousands of additional votes that Trump otherwise wouldn't get.
It being Elon's gambit, what you're saying.
Elon's gambit. That's true. That may be true. What you're saying is also true, which is, I think that the thing that may win this election is that the ground game in the three northern states, touching the Great Lakes, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, is going to be meaningful and advantageous.
I would add Nevada too, Clark County in particular, but also Washoe.
Totally.
Yeah. So
same
I mean, let us conclude in this mini podcast where we've concluded every other podcast, which is to say,
who
the hell knows? Who the hell knows?
Exactly. We're going to start getting drunk in 2 hours and wake us up. You're Axelrod on CNN. I'm going to be Brian Williams on Amazon. Heilman's going to be on the Colossus known as NBC, MSNBC. So you'll watch us just like you freak out in real time, depending on what America decides to do. But we're not doing a mailbag on this special jittery Saturday.
This mini episode that's already gone 50 minutes. By the way, Mike, I don't. It's very, very presumptuous of you to assume that we're not already drunk.
Well, we broke our rule for this one because we wanted.
We're
to
on East
what
Coast time here.
Election was.
I'm
up early.
Noon.
Exactly.
Noon here.
Because you guys are already having lunch. I want to end with some beautiful audio. The Milwaukee meltdown, where going back to violence after he was done with Cheney, he decided the poor kid backstage is the problem.
Donald Trump.
Let's hear what happens when Donald Trump has a microphone that makes him mad.
You gotta be kidding. Do you want to see me knock the hell out of people backstage? You want to see me? I don't mind if they want to come up a little forward or something, but it's a pretty stupid situation, but that's okay. I get so angry. I'm up here seething. I'm seething. I'm working my ass off with this stupid mic. I'm blowing out my left arm. Now I'm going to blow out my right arm, and I'm blowing out my damn throat, too, because these stupid people. I'll make you a deal. Pretend you're listening to it perfectly, and I'll come back and do another one, okay? With a decent.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, well, there's a guy who doesn't look like he's terribly confident. I don't know.
No, he's cracking up. The MRI, we're finding a lot of rods and problems in his head here.
Well, we'll see if enough voters read the scan because, Kamala Harris has faced a lot of headwinds in this race. I mean, some, have to do with her, but mostly they have to do with, people's attitude about the direction of the country, the economy, and Biden. And the fact that she's in a position to maybe win this race is pretty remarkable in some ways.
To David's point, very quickly, just to put a cap on this, I think if she loses, if Kamala Harris loses this election, there's going to be blame to go around, and people will blame a lot of people. But if from the largest perspective, the idea that a sitting vice president could be made the nominee of the party in August of the election year, and is told you have 90 days to introduce yourself to the country and take out Donald Trump.
Right.
That the degree of difficulty there is so high when you're the sitting vice president to a president with a 39%, 40% approval rating and a wrong track at like 70. That's like the fact that she's competitive in this race is a miracle. It's a miracle that she's
Don't grade on a curve. She's got democracy in her hands. Step up and win.
Well,
I'm
not saying she performed perfect. I'm not saying she performed perfectly, Mike, but think about that. Like,
no. It's a legit point. I agree.
It's tough. That's a hard road to hoe.
The stakes are high enough that sometimes, the answers don't screw up.
Well, that I think I think there's no doubt about that. This is, as the great Vince Lombardi said, winning isn't the only. What did he say?
Winning isn't everything. It's the only
thing. Yeah.
Only thing.
So in this case, yes, and but we'll see. We're going to know soon. But we're going to get together again on Monday to evaluate what happened over the weekend and take one last look at the thing and see if we're any more clear on what might happen.
My guess is we won't be, but it'll be fun to chew on it.
Yeah.
I am hoping today I'm going to see the spot I'd be doing on the internet. They're 2 days late, but get a garbage truck, get an actor with a good rubber face playing the driver and intercut it with the footage. So he's got his red hat and he's watching this red wig bouncing under the window, and, and let him tell the story of his face. And then, of course, the hat comes off and just a slow turn. But onward, gentlemen. Don't forget to vote, America.
Yeah. Yeah, please.